So when you looked at it, you would have kind of where it drops down. And actually where it steps back up, you'll still have a section of barnstone on each side, so you'll see that weir. But then this was additional barnstone that carried across the whole face.
This was more aesthetic.
It was more aesthetic. The timber steps down to, there's still a pathway that gets you down to the lower trail. This was kind of a shortcut, and these are, if you picture old wood timber steps, like railroad ties. So at that cost there, to me, it seems like we could do it a lot less material-wise. So the things we're looking at now performing, the pier itself, we have some other kind of access points down by the water that our guys are working on this year. So even without doing the pier, we'll still have access down to the pond. So we're kind of looking at things that wouldn't impact the overall park drastically if we don't conform.
Yeah, I just, with a little bit, only basically 11,000 from water reduction is, you want to be close to it, but also, those are awfully close.
And typically, we do try to usually have about 10% in contingency. So even at 6.2, we're kind of going into construction with less than we normally do. But, we feel pretty good that gives us a little bit of room front for some things.
And the difference from year to year, there were 4 bids on this project, sometimes there were more, as you saw with the Naval Highway Trail. So that tends to tighten things up too. So I will entertain a motion to go ahead and award this bid to Avon Building Corporation.
I noticed there was a significant difference between the low bid and the next 3 bids. Is there a problem?
So the biggest difference we saw was the shelter itself. Kavanaugh was, I think, the next closest one was $140,000 more just on the shelter then. And I think the high one home was like $250,000 more. So the biggest discrepancy we saw was in the shelter itself. Kavanaugh has built a similar shelter for Summit County Parks by the same design engineers. So I think they have the most familiarity with the plans and maybe what the architects have designed. The other contractors actually own that, have done a lot of projects for us in the past. So the discrepancy appeared to be mostly in the shelter. The rest of the unit costs, seemed kind of in line. And actually from talking to the references, the director of Summit Metro Parks, they've done maybe 4 or 5 projects with Kavanaugh. We've never worked with them. She said, best contractor they've dealt with. And actually, 2 other references of theirs also very highly. So we're actually kind of looking forward to maybe working with a new contractor who's going to do good work. So
I just wanted you to see such a big
yeah.
discrepancy, especially between low and high.
And if you'd like to see, we do a full bid tab, and we actually check the highs and lows and take an average, and Kavanaugh seems pretty much in line. So.
That's not great. Any other questions? We'll entertain a motion. All right. I will entertain a motion.
Someone,
Get a second.
Second.
Call the vote to award this bid to Kavanaugh. Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mrs. Vittori?
yes.
And Mr. Moore?
Yes.
So, is Naval Highway Trail South bid award recommendation. On February 28, 2017, 8 lump sum bid was received from Naval Highway Trail South improvement projects. Opening or attached, the principal bidder is Sherman Valley Paving with a base bid of $1,039,937.15. It's recommended that the Board of Park Commissioners accept this bid and award the contract with Naval Highway Trail South.
Should we do a little thing first to discuss?
That's
Okay. Someone.
Second.
Any questions or any discussion?
So I did have a question. What is the second line item, the
So
additional?
the alternate alternate bid item, we had one add alternate, and that was, so the base asphalt we're using on the trail is a 2-inch 448 asphalt, which is kind of a normal parking lot bike trail standard asphalt. The add alternate was doing a higher content of binder, and I think it was a 442, it was a little bit harder asphalt. Again, it would still be the 2-inch profile. The engineers, what we had talked about was, again, thinking about buggies on this trail, if that might hold up a little bit better. Actually, after kind of learning a little bit more, I think the cost was substantially higher than even the engineers anticipated. I guess the asphalt plants have to set up specifically just to make this asphalt. So when they're making that asphalt, it means they can't make like 448 for all the other projects going on. So I think it's reflected in the price where that alternate to change asphalt was much higher than anticipated because we're literally shutting down the plant on the days that.
So you aren't going to include.
So that's why I'm not recommending that add alternate. Based on where the bids came in a little bit, the unit price from Chagrin Valley on actual 440 asphalt is pretty competitive. Another option would be is rather than maintaining the 2-inch profile, we could do an extra inch, 3 inches of 448, which again would probably extend the longevity of the trail. And that would be closer to about $140,000.
My only concern was if they were the bid, but if you were gonna do the upgrade, they were not the one.
We award at the low lump sum. We usually don't
Do some of the,
Yeah.
were some of the high bids, I always wonder, do you think that they just threw their number out there, not because, I know some of these names, I don't know that Eclipse is a paving company per se. Do they just throw them in there, hey, give us the work rate and that?
Well,
Is that way up?
yeah, typically Eclipse, the last few times they've bid stuff have been really high. I know they did the bike trail in Chardon. They were the GC on that bike trail, the section through Chardon. Our contracts, we award, the general contractor, the award, they have to be self-performing 51% of the work. So Eclipse is, based on their bid, doing 51%. Now again, like you said, they aren't traditionally an asphalt company, so.
Okay, and that may be why they're way off, and some of these others aren't either. But is it because they're doing trail work, is that different than?
It's a 10-foot wide trail, so I mean, it's pretty similar to paving, a single roadway. Traditionally, Chagrin Valley, actually, I don't see Ryan down here, Ohio Paving or some of the other paving companies we usually see. Both those companies picked up plans, but again, just sometimes, I think we had about 11 companies actually purchase bids that are, plans and specs. Typically, we don't see like everyone submit a bid, but Ryan, Ohio Paving or some of the other paving companies in the past have done.
For trails, I understand that your asphalt may be a nice, it's nice for the trail. Have you looked into a chip seal approach to the trails? I mean, I know it's maybe a little bit more gooey.
We've used some chip seal in the past. I think at the Rookery there were some chip seals. This being that since it was along the bike trail, doing a smoother finish for biking, rollerblading, scooters, that sort of thing was some of the thought of smoother asphalt.
And Maple Islands Trail Central, Maple Islands Trail North is asphalt. We just want to continue.
Maintain consistency. Understood.
Back in the original question, and then Matt, if you have another perspective, but a lot of times when a general comes in, they're not handling, say something like asphalt, it's just a matter of trying to get the sub to give them a good price. And that's what we, in this case, in my opinion, you see sheer paving coming in at a lower bid because they're asphalt.
That's what they do.
So sometimes you see that with site work and excavating, and they may not have carpenters on staff, they gotta get a better price. I think that's what happened with the shelter probably, in the case of the Lucas project, so things of that nature.
Chagrin Valley, they've been the GC on past projects. When we resurfaced Big Creek Park, I think in 2013, they GC'd it. They actually GC'd back in 2009 or 10. Walter C. Best, the expansion of that park, the shelter, they were actually the GC in that too. So.
worth mentioning too, for you, Mr. Law, with you not being on the board last year, but we come to the board multiple times in enforcing the project. So last year, we came mid-year for appropriating the money for the bigger projects. We came again for design build because we had to start spending money with the design engineering firm. And we come again with the approval of the final budget for 2017. And we come again, request to bid, and we come again for the award of it. So I just say that to say if there are any questions anywhere along the way, just pick up the phone and